This set of episodes was streamed and recorded in between 2020 and 2021. It took me this long to upload them, partly because life happened and partly because I'm a slow video editor. Either way, I hope you enjoy this episode. If you don't, please send it to someone who will.
Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly? Why can't you see me?
I can't see you too well, but I can hear you.
Wave your hand. Yes. I see you move. I see you move. It works.
Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place. Welcome to take 36 of Stories with Shastri. I'm not sure if it's 35 or 36. I think it's one of them. I have to, check my logs to confirm. So today we have Dheeraj who has agreed, been kind enough and agreed to come on board. He was supposed to be one of the first 30, but that didn't work out. And something we're going to talk about is uh, on being the topic we decided on is being broke and crypto. So Dheeraj is a master's and has a master's in psychology. He is full-time into crypto, and he runs a podcast that focuses on education and news about cryptocurrency to Indians specifically. He loves memes, content curation, and community. Dheeraj is a personal friend of mine, and he's probably the reason I cleared the first year of my college and I had friends in my college. So let's see what he has to say. Hello.
Hey.
So I know you and I've known you since I was getting into college and before that. So thanks for that, by the way. I already said it earlier. So could you tell our listeners and our viewers a little more about you, other than what I've already said in the bio you've given me?
Awesome. So, I think that comprises most of it, but I'll give you a basic idea. My name is Dheeraj, as Sangamitra introduced. I love a lot of geeky, nerdy things, and I'm very much interested in crypto, memes, psychology, and culture, which is again part of the introduction. And I don't know what else to say actually. Yeah, and I'm into football. Yeah, I'm into sports. I run this thing called Arsenal Pune Supporters Club, which is again, it's very much related to community. So all what I have done till now has been about people, has been about community, and now it's mostly about money. And all these things also come into a picture together. So.
Right. So, our topic today, and when we were talking, was it's so a lot of people I was speaking to, when I just said I might do one on crypto, they just assumed it was you. So, but then we also added on the factor of on being broke, right? Because those are conversations you and I have had on a very personal level, and drawing from those, how do you define being broke? Because being broke can mean different things. It can also be, I don't have money now, but I have money saved up. Or it could be I have nothing.
Yeah, so I think for me, how I would define is actually not having money. That's being broke. And again, right, being broke is a very a middle class / upper household concept of being broke, right? Because you have money, but you do not have money in your pocket, right? But you have access to it. But again, right, I think it's just not having money. It's not hey, I have 30,000 rupees saved up in my bank account, and I don't have and I don't want to spend. That's just you being smart or whatever, right? That's up to you. But if you don't have money in your bank and you can't do something, I think that's how I would define being broke, right? Hey, Dheeraj, let's go out for a drink. No, I do not have any money to do that. So that's being broke for me. Yeah.
Right. So, what's the best and the worst thing you experienced while not being broke compared to while being broke?
The thing is, most of my habits have not changed, right? Because in college, I did not work or something, or I did not get like as much pocket money as like people would have gotten. So like had very little to work with. So I'll tell you a very interesting story. My friend, which whom you know, love, and I think he was there on
Yeah.
your podcast as well. So him and I, we love music, right? And like we loved the live gig concept and whatnot, right? And so we used to go to concerts or gigs. He would get tickets because he used to work for a radio show free of cost. So that saved us money. And before going there, we used to buy alcohol. Um, I can say alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I can talk about alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we used to buy
As long
alcohol.
as you're not promoting it and talking about something you've done, it's fine.
Sure. No, so no, just kidding. Yeah.
I'll beep it out.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway.
like a thing.
Yeah.
I need some controversy for engagement value, no?
I'll try. Anyway, so him and I used to go to these gigs. First, free entry, and second, what we used to do is we used to buy rum and coke and pre-drink before entering to a gig, and not spend a single rupee in the gig, while peers might be spending 400, 500 on a drink, right? So like that's our concept of being broke. And sometimes even just get out of the gig in middle of it and go outside, drink and come back. So these kind of things, which I think I love it, right? Like I love doing stuff like this. It just saves a lot of money.
Right. It's called pre-gaming, right? So I know so many people who've done it.
But pre-gaming, a lot of people like whom I know is like, hey, we're going to NH7, let's pre-game at Swig or Daily.
But at the parking.
Yeah, parking is 100%. I relate to that. Yeah.
Right. So, and what's the worst thing that happened while you were
being broke? It probably I can't remember exactly what, but it probably would have been like an emergency where either an accident or like bike. It's not that big of a deal, but bike breaking down and you don't have money for giving it to a puncture repair wala, and then you're just struggling, like what to do, right? Like something like that. Yeah.
Is it something that affects your idea of what you're capable of in any way?
Or even not eating, because sometimes you wouldn't have money, and then and if no one is at home, then you're like, "Arey, order karu ya nahi?" Or like, should I just sleep, or like something of that sort. Like that happened a lot in college, right? Like just skipping meals and whatnot. Again, right? Like this is not because it was just something I did to not ask more money from my family. It's not like we couldn't afford food. People have it that way. Yeah.
Right. So I had mentioned in your introduction before you joined in about how we were supposed to do this last year. And last year we spoke about the importance of personal finances. And I said, yeah, that's great because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I have no concept of saving. I have no concept of, and it's like an active struggle. Anyone I meet, I'm just asking them, how do you save? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? I've had adults, and I think, okay, you're an adult because you're like 38, you have a great, job going on for you, a great life. He's just like, tell me when you find out. And I'm looking at them and I said, okay, so all of this is a scam.
Yeah.
Right? Most people don't know it. So the age, I don't know if age plays a factor in that. But I want to know, what is your opinion of how important personal financing is? Because now I'm getting to, I'm getting there where I'm understanding why it's important.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very comfortable because I'm privileged enough to, not work, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like when the pandemic struck last year, people were, a lot of people I knew who were photographers, for example, because that's one of the things I do. They were really, bogged down. A lot of the people from the hospitality and F&B industry were really bogged down. But I was so comfortable. I said, okay, I'm going to take this time to start something new, do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how important is personal financing according to you?
I think in general it is very important, like I'll talk a little bit about why even like these older people don't know is because we never have this conversation about money or finance or personal finance or saving with, I mean, this is coming from my experience. Okay, like everyone can have different experience, but this is what I noticed from my side and my friends, that parents never have this conversation with their kids about money, like how to make it, how to save it, how to grow it, right? Like all these things are important, right? Like how to build generational wealth, because maybe even they haven't learned, or
Yeah.
they have gone through a very different struggle of just making ends meet and not even worrying about how we can grow the money. But it is very important because we need money for each and everything we do, right? Like
Yeah.
basically, right? And when you have some kind of savings, it's a cushion, right? Like how you said, you did not have to worry about anything in pandemic because you might have had some amount saved,
No, it's
right?
because my mother's very good at it. I'm not good at
Very,
it. So,
very
and
good.
she's thankfully
So
she still
either
likes me
you,
to pay for me.
awesome. So, but what happens is for me, how it was, I was doing a job which in pandemic they went extremely toxic. They cut half of the salary, which I completely understand because hey, the sales and all were not happening. But uh, but this is what happens, right? Like, and then they wanted me to work double the hours,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense because if you're cutting now anyway. So what? And then a lot of people were losing their job, but they couldn't do shit because they needed a job, so they had to stick around. But I had saved some amount of money, which was like a cushion for me, right? And I had my emergency fund, right? Like if anything goes wrong, I have this basic sum of money which will sustain me for 6 months or 4 months or 10 months, whatever, right? Like it could be different for people. So it made me quit the job, take a month out, and it was even better because I did not spend any of the money because there's nothing to spend on. So so it was a quite nice this thing. But what I'm getting at is having money with you is a very nice psychological safety net for making you feel comfortable and safe in your own space and make better life decisions, and not like take the bare minimum whatever is being offered to you.
Right. So it's funny you mentioned emergency fund because I've been at a point where, I mean, I have a PPF only because
Mhm.
my mom and grandmom were adamant on it. So every time my nanny will give me money to put into the PPF. And I said, मुझे खर्च करने के लिए पैसा तो PPF का मैं क्या करूँगी?
Hmm.
Right? Which to translate for anyone who doesn't know Hindi, it is give me money to spend. What am I going to do with the PPF if it comes so much later? Because I've always been like, okay, money comes and money goes. I'm
Hmm.
now struggling to, understand that money can come and go and you can treat it like that, like it's not the end of the world. But it's also good to save for a rainy day and, be the ant and not the grasshopper, essentially. So I had this thing where, and I know that, when I calculated my statement, I realized I'm making so much money, but I'm still broke, which
Hmm.
never made sense for me. So I had two forms of emergency funds. I have a friend who went up salary structures for this one time I was working with an organization, uh, and a company actually. Uh, and the salary structure was in such a way where his when he got paid, I was broke, and when I got paid, he was broke.
Hmm.
Right? So it was like a 15-day gap. So we'd keep like a credit with each other. So we'd cover spot each other and then we'd return it then, and it was like just a cycle. And another thing was that my bank had this flexible RD, right, where I can put on how much I want and do all of that. So I had an RD that was just called adulting
Hmm.
because I realized and I understood that I spend. I don't look at if I have it, I'll spend it.
Hmm.
I might maybe I became over time I did be a little more conscious on what I'm spending on or
Hmm.
prioritize it. but
Yeah.
then or not make rash decisions about okay, go buy a shoe. Because I've been this person where okay, I stayed over at a friend's house. I have to go to work, and I'm gonna go buy new clothes because I don't want people have seen me in these clothes before.
Hmm.
Right? I've been that person from being like, okay, do I really need it? Like I was walking in Koregaon Park, which is a place in Pune, and my shoes broke, like literally it broke. So I had to quickly run to a shoe shop and I picked up the most uncomfortable stilettos because those were the only things in my size. And I spent like
Hmm.
a good 5 grand on it.
Oh my God.
There was nothing else available nearby, right?
Hmm.
And or nothing that I could find. So yeah. So what is it like when you what is the coming back to my question earlier, what do you think was the best thing and the worst thing that happened while you were not broke?
While you were not broke.
Yeah.
Hey, honestly, I'll give you just an example of what I have been doing in last 2 days. I've been trying to. So again, like this might sound very weird to all of you without any context. Let's assume there was this game, and like you can buy cats in those games, and I bought few cats yesterday, and let's say I spent 100 rupees buying these cats, and just 2 days worth of flipping and understanding what cats are good and what cats are popular and whatnot, and then uh, just hustling to get a deal on that cat. One cat which was like 100 rupees yesterday is around like 750 or 1,000 rupees today. So again, right, like this is something which is happening right now. That was something I was doing before your call, and 100 rupees and 1,000 rupees is understatement. We are looking at the value in dollars. The whole point, what I am trying to tell you is you get opportunities when you have money. Okay, which if I was broke, which I was, right, like it was just it was first, and then I got my salary, and then I spent some time just trying to learn new things. If the same cat thing would have happened on 30th or 28th, I wouldn't be able to buy even for like 100 rupees, right? So the thing is, with money comes opportunity, and like you can do a lot with those opportunities, and keep building your safety cushion, because the bigger the safety cushion you have, the better you can sleep at night. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question.
Right, I do.
Yeah.
You do. But do you think? I mean, we'll come to the cats a little later in the
Yeah.
episode. So,
Yeah.
do you think the whole safety cushion thing is because we're taught that money is so important, or we give it too much importance unnecessarily?
No, it's not. You really need it. Like if something breaks down, you need money, right? Like, and if you want to, like, it's the value you put on yourself, right? Like you work X number of hours to
Yeah.
generate X amount. Like you work 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and 5 days a week, and you generate, let's say, 10,000 rupees, right? Like that's your price. So how much of your time you can keep for yourself is important. What do I mean is basically, whatever you're working, the payment you get is the your freedom, right? Like that's the price of your freedom, right? So if you can keep 10,000 rupees a month with you, that means it's less time working in the future, because you don't have to work that much, right? Like let's say I do a shoot, right? And I need to do 10 shoots a month to keep to, like, match up with my spending, right?
Right.
Just an example, right?
Right.
But if my spending goes down to 7, that means I probably I'm doing 10 shoots, and I have let's say like 10,000 rupees. That means next month, if there is an emergency, I can do lesser shoots. I can just do 4.
Right.
So just to give you a context, right? Like, so you're trading money for time. So the more money you have, that means the more time you have in your hand to do whatever you love, to learn whatever you love. And not be controlled by someone else, basically.
Right. So I have two follow-up questions to that,
Yeah.
because we have, so when you speak about, the kind of value you bring or the value you set or feel for yourself or understand it, there are these tropes, right, about why someone is broke. Are you a struggling artist, or are you a
Uh-huh.
freelancer, or are you a
Yeah.
student, right? I have been all three. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting way. But do you think, and a lot of times, like for me, I feel like it, if I don't have money in my account, I can feel something different about me. Maybe because I was taught that, okay, it is important to save, it is important to have money with you at all times, no matter what, right? So it did take a toll on, it would to a certain extent take a toll on how I would feel about myself. So we have these tropes about the people who, the kind of, the kind of professions, or the kind of people who are perpetually broke.
Okay.
Hamisha,
Uh, uh,
right? You have your freelancers, you have your
yeah.
struggling artists and your
Yeah.
musicians, you
Yeah.
have, with the whole Ranveer Singh from Rockstar kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and you also have students who are
Sure.
broke, right? So do you think we also tend to somehow see them in a way where we value them lesser because of these tropes that are ingrained in
Yeah,
us?
yeah, I think so. I think so because in at least the society we live in, we value money way too much. Okay, and we associate value of that person with the amount of money he has, like or they have, right? Like so, that's the. I don't know if it's an issue, but it's a thing. It's
Yeah,
a thing which I have observed,
but I think
and
I ask this only because what if these people are supremely talented? Then they're of very high value, but they're just not getting work, or they're not getting paid on time.
yeah. That's another. That's the issue with gig economy, which a lot of us have
Yeah,
been a part of right now. You're like you are extremely talented, but your money depends on
yeah,
someone else to come, and then you can't sustain. It's a problem with the system, and like I don't have an answer. Like how can we actually solve it? Because it's a very weird problem, which is I think a big thing in the place we stay in Pune,
mm,
and I don't know about everywhere else, but it's a thing which is very sad because I think it's a power play, right? Like people who are supposed to pay you, like talking about artists, photographers, or planners, or anything of that sort, right? Like freelancing, this thing. So people who are supposed to pay them or you, they think that hey, we have power over you, and then you come and beg to us. It's a very bad money power play which we have to get out of,
yeah,
right? Like this that's why you need personal finance or like freedom, so you don't take up these shitty jobs and other people like you don't work with these guys. If you had enough money for this month, then you would never go to that client
right.
even after knowing that he doesn't pay on time.
So that brings me to my second follow-up question, which is, there is this idea that I know a lot of other photographers, or people who depend on gigs have, which is, I need that one good shoot,
Mhm.
right, in a month, and that's it, then I can chill for the rest of the month, right? That one good shoot that pays enough, or maybe two good shoots, and that's it, I don't need to really work or actively look for work. What do you think about that kind of thought process when it comes to money and making money?
See, it's a fair thing to do. Okay, like that's not an issue. But the where the issue is that whatever money is coming in is going out as well. Like that's where the issue is. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. It matters how much money you keep, which is something which we have never been taught about. And how much money you keep is also how much money you invest. So what happens is a little amount of money you put in, even if it's like 500 rupees every month, it compounds to a very big amount over the years, right? Like just putting like 5,000 for a lot many years can convert into like a crore rupees in a large amount of time. That's how compounding of money works. So yeah, that's the idea. That's the important part, that hey, money is coming in, but like I need to take X amount out. I can tell you how there is a formula to it. Like I can explain how you can go about it. But taking that money out and thinking that hey, dude, I might have already spent it, right? That's your saving this thing, and then going about your day-to-day life is what makes sense. So that is what my issue is. So it doesn't matter if you make 1,000 rupees a month or a lakh rupees a month. If you're going to spend lakh rupee a month, 1,000 rupees a month, that's where the issue lies. You're not saving any of that money. So it's more about how much you can keep, because it's very easy to spend. It's not easy to earn and keep. So that's the take.
Right. So what is this formula? Because my mother she's very good at saving, and that's not something I picked up from her. She sits and logs every single expense. Like she bought a rubber band, she will log it,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And she's great with money in terms of that. But like she would tell me something super extreme, which I as a child, I mean, I started working at a very young age, even when I was younger than 18 also. I was over 14, so that worked. But it was like she said, if you make $1,000, you should only spend 10, maximum 20 out of that 1,000. $100, sorry, not 1,000. If you make $100, 10 or 20 should be what you spend. Everything else you have to save.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm a child. I said, I'm getting money here. I don't even have to pretend like I don't want it from relatives. I mean, why should I do that? So what is this formula and
Yeah. So it's
why, sorry.
Yeah, way better than your mom's formula, which I mean, sure, it works for her. This formula basically doesn't make you kill yourself for doing it, right? Like it's not a headache. So what you do is, if you make 100 rupees, you or 1,000 rupees, you take 50% in you spend it on your needs, right? These are your recurring uh, kharchas which you can't get rid of, right? Like your electricity bill, your phone bill, your recharge, your khana, your food, your maids, and whatnot, right? Like whatever is recurring, that is you spend, and whatever you're earning, 50% of it goes here. Amazing, right? Like you've made uh, that's done, and then 30% goes for your wants. Okay, that is anything extravagant you want, right? Like you want to go out with friends and have a pizza or go to Starbucks. So don't kill yourself that hey, I should be not going out with friends, but you can keep budget of 30% for your wants. So and that's that, and 20% is goes to savings and instead of savings, I will just say investing, because saving just doesn't make any kind of sense in we can get into what it means, but 20% investing. So the formula is 50% needs, your electricity bill, your phone bill, or your rent, which you can't get rid of. 30% wants. It could be Starbucks today, it could be a pizza tomorrow, or it could be anything. It could be a jewelry you wanted to always buy, right? So you're not killing yourself. And 20% goes to investing. But if you are younger, you can change the ratio of investing to higher, and you can adjust the rest somewhere. But the minimum should go is 20% in investing.
Right. I'm glad you said when you're younger it should go higher because I mean, when you said needs and wants, I have this Excel sheet which is on things I need and things I want. Right. So these are the list of things I want to buy, and these are the list of things I need. Right. So something like my phone. My phone is broken because I am absolutely clumsy and I have a dog who just doesn't like phones. Right. So she's broken 7 phones, so I need a phone. But want is I want to get, you know, the premium version of say Spotify,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I differentiate it like that,
Yeah.
and then I'll decide which one do I want. What is my priority of it?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said younger, because do you think it's ever too late to start saving or investing? And what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, yeah. So saving is basically keeping your money locked in a bank, or under your bed, or up somewhere and buried it. So that could probably be saving. And investing is actively taking the money you have saved, or any kind of money, and put it to work for it to make you more money. So when your money makes you more money, it works for you, is how you would define investing. So basically, investing in FDs or stocks
EPS.
or PPFs. Yeah, but that's not investing. That's just a retirement fund for you.
Yeah, but
So,
that interest rate really is so interesting. I love it. I look at my
huh,
PPF interest rate and I'm just like, wow.
how
But
much is?
I don't know actually. How much is in the value I can't say, but I don't know
No,
how
no,
much
the
is per.
interest rate
I
basically.
don't know. I think 5 or 6.
Awesome. Okay, okay,
I'm
cool.
not sure, but yeah,
Okay,
five
awesome.
six percent.
Okay, so
Because I didn't set it up. I don't even know how to set it up. It was set
no,
up.
no, that's fine. That's fine. I was just wondering. It's not a GK question for you. Yeah. So yeah, I was saying that actively
FD.
putting money in gold, or even crypto for that matter, is how I would describe investing. And why do you need to invest is a question I think I will answer, and it is it's something we know but we don't think about. So there is this concept of inflation. What does that mean is two things. Things are getting more expensive, or and the value of the money you have is decreasing. So this is what happens in inflation. And in India, inflation generally goes from anywhere between 7 to 10% year over year. That means the value of a 100 rupees note drops by 7 to 8 rupees. Right, today if you could buy uh, 10 bananas for 10 rupees, next year with the same money you can just buy 9 bananas. Okay, so just keeping the money in your bank, every year you can buy less bananas. That means you are losing money. You're not mm, keeping money. You're basically burning your own money. And when you put it to invest, the point of investing is to beat the inflation rate. So if you make more money than the inflation rate, that is, let's say, 7%, which is documented, it could be way more, because I, I don't know how the official numbers are calculated, right? So you have to put in money to make more money than inflation. So you have money,
Yeah.
otherwise you're losing money year over year, right? Like,
Right.
so even with your mother's example, if she saved 90% of her money, but over 10 years 80% of its value is lost, what's the point?
Hmm.
It just looks like there is money with me, but the value of money has gone down. So to give you the simplest example of inflation is, uh, 5 or 6 years back, I could buy one Maggie packet, eat it, and feel full. I have to buy two because the packet has reduced in size. Like, they
Yeah.
don't increase the price, so people don't buy. So people just stop buying. They reduce the size. Same
Yeah.
with Lays, or same with whatever you're happening.
Yeah. Don't mention Lays. I'm so pissed off. But
Yeah.
it's air. But anyway, I'm glad you mentioned crypto, because moving coming to cryptocurrency, right?
Sure.
Uh, it's how would you? I don't know anything about it. I did some reading, so I could seem a little smart in this conversation, little bit. I've the first time I was introduced to say the concept of blockchain was when in 2017, where a friend of mine posed this question to me and asked me whether I understood it, which I did to a certain extent, but we were at a social gathering, I didn't care enough, right? And I mean, there were kebabs and all going there, so I wanted to go there.
I agree.
But and I kind of regret that. So I want to understand, how would you explain Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to a 5-year-old? Also, I just want to know, are they the same thing? And if not, why are they interchangeable?
Sure. So I'll answer the second part first. So Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency, okay, but there are more cryptocurrencies apart from Bitcoin, which honestly don't matter. The only thing that matters is Bitcoin, and we'll talk about that because that's important. How will I explain a Bitcoin to a 5-year-old? Is basically Bitcoin is magic internet money, okay, and you can send it to your friends and family or anyone over the internet without needing permission from banks or your government or anyone or your elders, right? So that's the simplest way to define it.
This reminds me of how you can send it to anyone without permission, and it's magic money. It's like, I don't know if you remember, there was this game with a Farmville on Facebook. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But okay, and why does the value of cryptocurrency depend on Bitcoin or upon what Elon Musk says? Because I've seen
So
a lot of
it
conversations.
does not actually. It does not. So what happens is there are two things. There is Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency, which or just Bitcoin, which can be used as a currency to buy and sell things. And then the second thing is Bitcoin, a technology, excuse me, which is decentralized. This is a little 15-year-old explanation, which is decentralized. That means it's not controlled by one single person or one single entity, which could be governments, banks, or multimillionaires or any of that kind. It's not controlled by anyone. Second thing, it's a peer-to-peer network. That means people like you, me, and people abroad, everywhere, they run the network, right? Now, if you have ever used torrents, that and the seeding and whatnot,
I
it
won't
happens
confirm or
between.
deny. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you can legally use torrents also. Like,
Oh,
you
really?
don't
Yeah,
have,
then I do use torrents.
yeah. So, so like it happens person to person, right? You don't need a server like a Dropbox hosting it. So that's what, like, you can transact peer to peer, and it's international. That means Bitcoin doesn't see any border, it doesn't see any race, it doesn't see any alliances, and you can use it across countries, and it's almost as good as instant. Because if you use a bank, even to transfer a check in India, it takes 3 to 4 working days, right? And if it's abroad, then they take foreign exchange fees. They take many more business days to transfer. So you can do it without a needing of a bank to transfer money to someone else, and it's a trustless network. That means I don't have to rely on HDFC Bank to make my payment happen. I can do it myself. Yeah.
Right. So when you say that it doesn't see borders, right? Do you mean that there's no concept of foreign exchange in Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, there is none. Because when you're transferring Bitcoin, you just transfer Bitcoin. You're not transferring Indian rupee or something like that. You're just transferring one Bitcoin, right? So that's.
And what
I don't know if I answered that properly.
I think you did. What would you say to someone who would say that it's not real money, you can't pull it out, or you can't put it in your bank account?
So you can try doing that, and then maybe like it will help. Bitcoin is the most liquid asset in the world. It trades 24/7, and you can buy and sell even faster than gold or stocks or real estate or anything. It's like it's the most liquid asset. Like it's very easy to buy and sell. Like you can try it. Like that's the easiest way to figure it out.
Right. And do you think cryptocurrency will ever be able to, because of the kind of
So
potential
we'll
it
use
has?
the term Bitcoin like to instead of
Okay.
cryptocurrency.
Okay. So do you think Bitcoin will ever be able to replace the, or get to the place where where we keep money as something? Let me rephrase this. Do you think cryptocurrency will ever get to the point where we value it as much as we would value regular currency
Oh, very
in
interesting
today's day?
question. Very interesting question. I think we people value Bitcoin way more than regular currency. I will explain why. Because of these characteristics I just said, right? That means you have complete control of your money. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Now, I will explain is like if I have money in my HDFC bank account and I say something on Twitter which any government does not like, they send a letter to HDFC saying that Dheeraj is a uh, potential terrorist list for whatever reason, right? For the best reasons ever.
Hmm.
What HDFC does is they block my account. That means I have no access to money.
Your own money, yeah.
Yeah, my own money. And Bitcoin solves this. That means it's censorship resistant, nor there are no takedowns. So again, we were talking about freedom earlier, right? Like how you need to have money
Hmm.
to sleep well. And with Bitcoin, it's one step higher, that you have money and you control it fully, and your money's value is same wherever you go. Right
Yeah.
now, I can take my Bitcoin to England, and it will still have value. But in England, they can say that, hey, I don't want to accept Indian rupees, which can happen, right? Like if there is something happen. Yeah.
So, but what about, a lot of people, when you say that you think it will be able to replace how we value money, I mean, when I say money in this context, I'm talking about regular money, right? Your regular
Yeah.
traditional currency.
Yeah.
So, why I asked that is because one, earlier I remember the conversation about Bitcoin starting around 2017. At least not Bitcoin. I think blockchain starting around 2017. Bitcoin maybe a little later, and a lot of people. But then it eventually grew and it boomed at some point. I don't know when that point was, but a lot of people are still apprehensive. One, so my about it because of how volatile it is, right? So
Yeah.
when we talk about death crosses and its rise and fall and how does it
Yeah.
uh, how it moves up and down, because while I may not know the nitty-gritties of it, I know that the value keeps going up and down because I see a series of memes, I see a series of news articles. I'll be like, oh no,
Sure.
Elon Musk
Sure.
has tweeted again, so some crypto person is sad somewhere,
Awesome. So we'll talk
right?
about volatility. It depends on the market. The volatility depends on people who want to buy and sell. So why there is so much volatility is because it's a free market, right? It functions for 24/7, and there are no restrictions. So if people think, hey, Bitcoin might go down, um, a lot of people start selling, then the value goes down. So it really depends on economics and supply and demand, right? Like no one is controlling. It's people who think that, hey, it might go down, then they sell, or it might go up and then they buy, which is a very human nature, right? Like, and it's not just the case with Bitcoin. Like even I'll give you an example. This person called Sucheta Dalal,
Yes,
uh,
Harshad Mehta,
who
yes.
yeah, Harshad Mehta, she tweeted something about Adani stocks and they fell like crazy.
Yeah.
What and now what happens is uh, the stock exchange comes in and they says that, hey, we are going to block this stock from trading. Okay, so it doesn't shatter completely. Okay,
Right.
so what happens is when Yes Bank, if you know, it
Yeah.
closed, what would you do? You would sell all your stocks, right? And when everyone is selling, it goes to zero. But government comes in and says that, hey, you cannot sell anymore. So that doesn't happen. That's why the volatility is not seen in stock market, because someone comes and intervenes and saying, hey, please, you cannot sell anymore. But in Bitcoin, you can sell it till it goes to zero, right? Like you can sell forever, but it probably won't. And second thing is about legitimacy is a very weird conversation, because there's this country called El Salvador in southern in Latin America region. They made Bitcoin its legal currency. So you can buy and sell anything you want in El Salvador using Bitcoin. So it's a legal currency. It's as good as a US dollar. And why people are doing this? Because they don't have a currency of their own. And US dollar is also losing value. And if you're using US dollar as your currency, that means US gets to control a part of your country in a psychological manipulative way. So all these Southern American Latin American countries are going to adopt Bitcoin because, hey, no one controls it, right? It's free market, and it's very good for their people to use Bitcoin. So that's where we are. One country done, and many more will be making it a legal currency. So
Right. But
that's
you
it.
know, that brings me to my next question, because when we speak about how it is a person thinking that okay, it might go down, so you start selling or you start
Yeah.
buying it because it's down. The amount of risk involved, and that is quite a lot, right? So there's a lot of human error that is there. But then
100%.
what happens to these risks and losses when there is no regulatory body? Because when, from what I understand or what I would see a regulatory body doing, is to
Yeah.
just make sure that okay, if you make a mistake, right? When I say make a mistake, I mean send it to the wrong person, for example.
Yeah.
You can go and file a grievance and be like, okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
do that. But
Yeah.
what do you do here? Because it's
You
so
can't
risky to do that.
you can't do that. That means you have to be mindful with your money. That's all it means. That's the trade-off of self-sovereignty. That means you have complete control over your money and your mistakes. So it's gone. Like that's what. Like if you send it to a wrong person, it's gone. So you
Right.
have to be careful with your money, and the risks are there. So that's why we have said, right, like don't invest your life savings, right? Invest only whatever you can afford to lose. Otherwise, you can't sleep at night. That's the conversation, right? Like you need to sleep at night. That means you need to invest only the amount you can afford to lose and not go overboard with it. So that's the idea.
Right. But it's also the thing, right? Where suppose let's say someone has invested in Bitcoin and they're not and they're holding on to that investment, and then they bought it when it was very low, and
Yeah.
then when it shot up they were like, okay, great, and they didn't pull it out. They probably pulled a little bit out, uh, and converted into actual money. But then when it goes back down and they still kept it, but that loss is really huge, right? If it spikes down completely.
Sure. Sure.
So, but then how is that fair to
It's
the
not a
person?
loss if you don't sell it. So that's the thing. Like it's a store of value. It's a price you're basically paying for freedom. Basically, that's what it is. And again, right? Like it's not an asset you should be trading.
Hmm.
Like that's not why it is. That's why the thing is like around 60% of Bitcoin is held from like last 6 7. I mean, the numbers might vary, right? From 7 years, the Bitcoin has not moved. So it's rest of the people who come in to make quick money and lose money, thinking that they will make quick money. Because people who are buying, they're buying it for very long term. That's why I don't recommend trading or trying to know that when the market is going to go up or down. So if you invest every month, little by little by little by little, you are averaging the market. That means you're buying when it's going up, you're buying when it's going down. So the average, it averages out, and you don't lose, or like the value is not lost, because and it can go down and up. Like that's part of it. Like that's part of the economic system. Like if you're just trading, then I mean I don't recommend that.
Right, but that's the thing, right? Don't people say that you're not supposed to sit on, like let's say with the example of the stock market, they say that don't hold on to a stock that is volatile, right? Like the moment you find it, move to the next one and something that's more
There
calmer
are
and
different
compact.
strategies, but like Bitcoin is very different because it rewards people who are holding on to it, because it
How?
constantly. How is basically what happens um, in a regular money system? You are rewarded to spend money. What does that mean is, if you spend money right now, the economy of the country booms, right? Like it shows that kuch na kuch ho raha hai. So that's why they change the monetary policy. That means loan ka prices kam kar dete hain. They reduce it, and they say like, hey, why don't you take a home loan and buy a home, or personal loan and go for a vacation, or buy a scooter or something like that. So it shows that you are spending money. So the more money in the economy, the better the country performs. And just the more money in economy doesn't mean you are getting more money, right? Like you're spending more money, which we like we said, right? Like we have to save some amount. In Bitcoin, what happens is the monetary policy is same. What happens every 4 years? There, I'll explain. There are only 21 million Bitcoins. That's all,
Yeah.
right? And there are 100 billion people, right? So like there is a, if everyone wants to buy a Bitcoin, like it will go crazy anyway. So what happens is you get some kind of rewards if you secure the Bitcoin network, right? So, and how do I explain? How do I explain this? Just give me a second, because I have to give more context. Keep on giving context, so it becomes more layered. Mm. Yeah. So how does Bitcoin reward you for saving? Is basically, if you are holding on to your Bitcoin, there will be lesser Bitcoin in circulation. If there is lesser Bitcoin in circulation and the demand goes up of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin goes up. Basically, that means if you don't sell, the value keeps on rising. And this is what has been happening for past couple of years, like 7-8 years, that a lot of people are holding. And that's the real value. If you're saving your money, its value is going up and up and up. But if in our current monetary system, like I said, right, like if you're saving your money, keeping it in the bank, the value year over year is going down. That means you're buying lesser bananas. But if you save in Bitcoin, you are buying more bananas, because there can only 21 million Bitcoins can exist, and more people will want to buy into Bitcoin in the in right now, so like in the future. So that's why you're rewarded to save.
So, something that there was this article that I had read, which was which says that there are in 2017 there was a study that said that nearly 4 million bitcoins were lost, right?
Yeah.
And there was another one says that how many there are billions of bitcoins lost behind forgotten passwords, because from what I've learned is that there's a wallet, there's a personal private key and a public key,
Sure.
and all of that. So what happens then?
Yeah. It might be billions of dollars or millions of Bitcoins. because there are only 21 million bitcoins. Just to clarify,
Yeah.
what happens is it's lost. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. Yeah, that's all.
But now that's the thing, right? Now 21 million bitcoins,
Yeah.
which means suppose even if it is one person, right? One person, one bitcoin per person, that still doesn't cover the entire planet.
Yeah, so that's why you can divide Bitcoin into 8 decimals, and the smallest decimal is called 1 sat or 1 satoshi. So you can still trade in fractions, and you don't have to own one entire Bitcoin to actually transact. You can own 0.00001%, one Bitcoin as well, and you can still.
But that's limited at 8, right? So what is the value come? Because math is not my thing. So
It's okay. It's not. So what you can think is you can buy 100 rupees worth of Bitcoin if that's what you would like to know.
right, and how many fractions? Like, is it an unlimited amount of fractions? Like, you know how you have pi where there's an unlimited amount of decimals?
No, it's currently like 8 decimals, like 0.00, like 8 times, 7 times, and then one number. So that's that. But again, right, like if that decimal 1 satoshi becomes a very big amount in future, then maybe you can make a proposal saying that you add more fractions, which is also possible.
But who's the person you're making this proposal to?
You are making the proposal to the Bitcoin network, and 51% of the miners who help secure the Bitcoin network, if they agree, then the proposal gets passed after a lot of scrutiny.
But if it is if you need someone's permission to do it, it's not essentially
You don't need
like,
anyone's permission. You need a consensus to do it. Like if majority of your network agrees that hey, this is good for the network, then it happens. So that's the only thing.
right. But then like the consensus also, right? When you're talking about this Bitcoin network, wouldn't they be the same as a regulatory body? Or
It's
at
not.
least
It's not, because anyone can join the consensus network, and you can join the consensus network, and you can make a decision. So you cannot join a regulatory body like
right.
as easily. Like tomorrow, you can go and join the Bitcoin consensus network and help secure the network. Yeah.
But then what? But then what happens when if it is so independent, right? So what happens when it is misused or when it comes to illicit trade?
There's this concept of game theory that
Yes.
if it is misused, it loses the entire value. So you you're rewarded to be a good actor in the network, or the network collapses. So that's the thing, right? Like if there is a misuse, then the value is also lost. The value is there because of all these characteristics of like just 21 million bitcoins, decentralization, peer to peer. If any of this is lost, then the value of Bitcoin is lost. So it's designed in a way that if there is a bad actor, a single bad actor, it won't succeed because there's a consensus mechanism. And if the consensus conspire against you, then all the people leave the network and the network loses its value. So that is like a brilliant game theory, this thing, right? So now let's say you and me, like and like few other friends who say that hey, this is what do you say, like this coin is worth 10 bananas. I don't know why I keep saying that, right? And but like all of you conspire and say no, this is worth 12 bananas, but no one is actually giving you 12 bananas for it. You are just saying it. That we and the rest of us are not even going to participate. We will say that hey, this doesn't have value worth of 12 bananas, so we are not even going to exchange it with you. So that's what happens. Like you can't go wrong in a in a game theory manner. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense that you're being, rewarded, and a lot of other things also in the home terms of illicit trade may not be able to happen, right? But I want to understand. So part of my research gave me this idea that it's not reversible,
Yeah.
right? So once you make a transaction, it is not reversible. You can't get it back. Nothing of the sort. So what happens? Like, let's say you get scammed, right? Let's say I'm someone I just beginning to understand Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
someone pretends to be a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And suppose they have access to, so I understand from what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong at any point, that there is a private key and there's a public key, right? So you usually share the public key to with the person who wants to be able
Yeah.
to send you something,
Yeah.
right? So what if this person gets access to my friend's public key and pretends to be my friend and gives me this key, but gives me the wrong key,
Okay.
the wrong public key?
But how is he giving it to you? Like on chat?
Hmm.
Then you will know who's talking to you. I mean, so the thing is, if someone, how can someone pretend if you are having a conversation with them? Because you cannot message using a public key, right? Like someone has to give it to you in a conversation.
Right, but they can give it to you on an email, on a Facebook message. They can give it anywhere, right? So that's very
As
easily.
in, like your friend probably got hacked and he's asking you for Bitcoin.
Yeah, like giving, saying, can you send me this Bitcoin and this is my public key?
Yeah. So, and he gives you a wrong public key.
Yes. No, so what I'm saying is, okay, person A is me.
Yeah.
So person B is my friend, and person C is someone who's doing, some funny business.
Sure.
Right? Now, person C hacks person B's, let's say social media communication channels, right?
Yeah.
Because suppose they do, and they pretend to be you, and suppose person A, which would be me in this case, suppose I don't know uh, much about, okay, it will not, I can just send it there and all of that, right? So I just need the key, and I haven't received the key from person B yet ever before,
Yeah.
right?
So, yeah, I mean, if that, like, if someone is hacking someone and sending you, like
Their own
something,
key.
their own key, then you can't do anything about it. You have to be mindful of where you're sending the money to, and you have to verify uh, by yourself, because
But how do
that's
you
the thing.
verify? Like, does the name show up or something like that?
No, 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 it does not. You have to probably call up your friend and ask, like, hey, are you doing this transaction with me? Right? Like, you are not, like, because generally you're not having these conversations, right? Hey, can you send me Bitcoin? And you have never traded before, right? Like, and out of nowhere, because it's a two-way transaction or something of that sort, right? So you have to be mindful, because see, it's your money, right? Like, it's the most prized asset in the world. You cannot make mistakes. That's the, and if you make mistakes, you're punished. Okay, like there is no leeway, right? Like there is no like you can't go to a court. So you have to keep all this in mind and make transactions. You have to read the public key thousand, hundred times, not hundred times, but four times at least to verify if you're sending it to the same one, or like you add a space somewhere or add the a somewhere, so it doesn't. So it's the onus is on you, right? Like this is the issue with self sovereignty, that if you make mistakes, it's on you, like not on someone else, and there is no one is going to come and bail you. You get hacked, you get hacked.
But then how is it fair in terms of, but money lost is money lost at the end of the day?
It is lost. It's fair. It's not. I don't know about fairness, because even if you send something on a wrong KTM, it's not recovered. Like you can just go and send it to a random number and try to do it. You can't recover. It's that, even after it's regulated, even after it's government this thing. It's not fair. It's just how the thing is that you cannot make mistakes, and if you make mistakes, then you are like liable to whatever has happened. So it's not. I think it's kind of fair because you have to be mindful. Right? Like if someone else is hacked, it's they are hacked. You like. I mean, I don't know. You need to do little bit of verification before sending anyone money, right?
Right. And since it's, since like you said, 21 million was what you said about the number of bitcoins that there are. And have all of them been mined yet? And what is
No.
mining of a bitcoin? What does that mean?
Yeah, so awesome. So I will tell you what mining is. So basically, mining means securing the network, and if you're securing the network, you get rewarded for it. And mining is you can run a computer or a software or a hardware to participate in trying to secure the Bitcoin network. And every uh, transaction you secure or verify, you get rewarded with X amount of Bitcoins for your service. Okay, so there is a reward for people to participate in the Bitcoin network, and it's 6.25 Bitcoins per 10 minutes. So it gets distributed, and whoever secures that 10-minute worth of transaction, they um, get that reward. So that is basically it is. It's open bookkeeping done by um, like so a lot of people. So let me give you an example. Let's say we are in a classroom, right? And I am giving you 10 rupees, right? And I shout saying to the class, like, hey everyone, I am giving Sangamitra 10 rupees. And what they do is they write it down in a book, all of them. They sit down and write it down. And cool. And then you say that, hey, I have received, and they write it down. And then you send me back 5 rupees. And all these guys write it down, right? And what we do is, as these guys are keeping the tab of all the transactions happening, uh, the Bitcoin networks give them some rupees to just writing all this down. So they are like good participants in the network. So this writing down, sorry,
Because they're helping with the bookkeeping.
they're helping secure the network, right? And all the transactions happening, people are shouting, right? Like, hey, I've given the money, and all these your friends are writing these down, and all this writing down happens all across the world, and we are shouting these messages on the internet, and anyone can pick it up. So that's the beauty of it.
Right. So, but so when you said that it was exhausted, right? At what point? Uh, because if it's 21 million,
right? So at a certain in 150 or 125 years, all of these coins will be mined. And what happens every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin given as reward halves. So it's called the halvening or halvening, whatever, right? So now it started with 50 Bitcoins when the network started, and then it went down to 25, and then it went down to 12.59. Now it's 6.25, and it will go even less. So again, right, like this is why the cost keeps on increasing, because the rewards go lesser and lesser, because the cost of mining Bitcoin gets harder, and uh, the rewards get lesser. Okay, so the value is more because the supply is going down. So anyway, so um, what happens, like when all the Bitcoins are mined, there is something called, every transaction has something called the miner's fee. Okay, so you can add a miner's fee in the transaction for them to collect and process your transaction,
but
right?
is it mandatory?
Yeah, yeah, there will be a transaction.
So it will be like a base fee for the mining.
Yes.
But I'm trying to understand, where will it? I feel like there will be a point where these decimals, right, these 8 decimals that you mentioned, it will stop. Like, how much more can you break it down into tiny pieces?
Yeah, I think um again, right, like I have not thought 150 years down the line. Right now it's quite possible, so like we just do it, and one sat is like probably few pesos or even lesser. I'm not sure exactly. Let me see that. Just to be clear, yeah, one satoshi is 0.02579,246 paise. So that's
Paise like Indian paise?
Indian paise. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's where we are at. So that's, I mean, again, right, like this is a problem not that I have to solve. I mean, there might be an answer, I just don't know because I did not read more about it.
Right, but like let's say, do you think the price of it, even when we're breaking it down and we're able to break it down to something that is so small, right? Because a paisa is not even a value we think of right now in today's day and age.
Exactly. So that's why we don't worry, right? So that's why whatever uh, is like you will probably get things priced in satoshis in future, right? Like, hey, Dheeraj, you want to buy food, it will be 500 satoshis, right? So you don't have to actually break anything down, or it will be 500 rupees and you can pay via Bitcoin and you don't have to actually sit and do calculation because you can just QR code, right? So stuff like that. So you sitting down and mentally doing math is not something is going to happen.
Right. So, I mean, this gives me two follow-up questions. One is, I mean, what I was saying earlier was that it is volatile, that is there. But then for it to even, when it's breaking down and being, down to the fractions and your decimals, and, so that it can be a legal currency in all countries and be, something that's
Yeah,
decentralized.
but breaking down in fraction is not a base of it being a legal currency.
No,
Right?
no, I know. I'm getting to my question.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So it is that in about a year, I've been told, or when I'm reading it, I haven't looked into it a lot, but it says that it is, risen almost 800% in 1 year, from 5K to almost 60K,
Okay.
right? So I'm assuming this is in dollars, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So, and then in 10 years, we may look back and see that Bitcoin is, not expensive and if it's too high or not. But then that's a huge jump, right? So if someone wants to be able to buy it, and let's say you said 500 Satoshis for food, right? Let me just as an example. Uh, do you think, I think I want to merge my two questions is that do you think it, when we're looking at even a possibility of it being in terms of 500 satoshis or X number of satoshis, do you think there will be a divide between the number of people of satoshis and the number of people of whole bitcoins?
There will be a divide.
Yes, because the whole idea of Bitcoin is being that okay, it's decentralized, it's a free market, everyone can do this and do that, but there will still be a divide, right, between that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not solving the wealth redistribution, if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah.
It's not that. Uh, it's a it's a monetary system which does not discriminate basically. So the wealth divide will happen no matter what, because we are like, it's not solving for that. Like, it won't solve. And the thing is, everyone has access to get Bitcoin right now. It's not unlike few investments which in our regular system are just capped for high net worth individuals, right? Like if Bitcoin was created by some VC or something like that, they would say that, hey, only if you have income of over a crore, then you can invest. Right now, you can put in your 100 rupees and go and buy Bitcoin. So that way, it does not discriminate, and it does not discriminate on who can run the network or become a miner as well. So it does not solve wealth redistribution. There will be people holding a lot of Bitcoin, and there will be people holding a lot of Satoshis, right? But there is no discrimination in the network between them. And again, how there is no also, when you're doing a transaction, just because someone has 30 Bitcoins versus your transaction of, let's say, 10,000 Satoshis, will not be discriminated on basis of just the number of how much you have. So that's
Right.
the,
I agree, and I'm with a lot of what you're saying, and I'm also able to understand it, and I'm a lot more clearer.
yeah.
But then saying that because it's on the interweb, right? At the end of the day, it's digital. So I still think that, like you said, today we can do 100 rupee investment into Bitcoin, but the people who for when it comes to the time where it does become, or whatever the hope is, right, for it to
Yeah.
become this whole worldwide currency, which
Yeah.
makes basically reduces the, from what I can gather, the dependency on the price of the dollar.
Yeah.
So but even for that to happen, the people who need access to it don't have access to the internet. So I think that's a whole different episode
That's
altogether.
a different conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that
But
that
very,
aspect's
very
also there.
coolly, a lot of Indians have access to mobile phones with 4G internet because of the
Yeah,
geo.
but maybe not.
Not everyone, right? But
Everyone doesn't have you, like how I have you in my life to explain this to us. So far,
yes, yes, I agree. But like a country like El Salvador has, they have made it a legal currency, and they are educating people on how to use it, how to use wallets, what to do, and make it easier. So, like, again, right, everything doesn't have to be solved right here, right now. When the need comes, the solutions also come, right? There will be people who would want to, it makes monetary sense for them to educate. It makes, so stuff like that, right? So incentives come when the need arises.
right. And okay, so since you do so many conversations uh, on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Uh, what I want to know, what is a question that you wish people asked you about it, but they haven't yet, and the answer to that also.
Yeah, so I think, see, I don't know what question they'll ask, but this is what needs to be like known to people is basically, uh, Bitcoin is basically a network which separates the government and money. This separates the money from the state. Okay, and this is something it's very hard to comprehend for us. I think what people need to know about Bitcoin is, basically it separates the state and from money, right? It separates the government from money, and this is very important for us to wrap our heads around because, the freedom it gives is enormous, right? Like no one can actually come and take your money out from you. That kind of freedom is what people, core Bitcoin people value, right? A lot of us are like, Ali, meko paisa banana hai, right? I have to make 10x or 100x or whatever, right? Like, I just, like, can I double my money? And that's the mentality. You go in and you lose. But like the game of, like, it's a technology which is here to, like, take on the global reserve currency and gold and whatnot. And like it's a very big picture, and thinking about prices and thinking about regulations and thinking about whatever is happening, or even like some entrepreneur talking shit about it, is very small. It's very small. You're not looking at the large picture. That looking at the larger picture, you will know that can never ask when should I sell, because um, why would you want to sell your Bitcoin and go back to a system which punishes savings, right? Like, or like devalues your money, because the government can print as much money as they want and devalue your money, right? Like, you have seen that in USA, where like trillions of dollars of money is printed in stimulus and whatnot, right? That means the prices of everything will shoot up. The prices of your money, value of your money goes down. Here is completely opposite. So if you understand what a Bitcoin or what this technology is, you will never probably ask when should I sell, because we are it's a bridge, right? Like, you're changing from one system to another system, and that's the system of the future. So
Right.
that's a little bit of
Right.
it.
I mean, I'm able to see it and understand the separating money from the state bit, but I would probably, my apprehensions of maybe wrapping it completely or being 100% in on the idea would come from the fact that, specifically with this particular point, with the fact that the state governs a piece of land essentially, right? It's a country or a region,
Yeah, but
right? So,
I understand the question, but the state's motivation are not always aligned to your personal.
oh yeah, no, 100%. But what I'm saying is that even the country runs on, or this region runs on money in
Yeah,
terms of maintaining the regions,
yeah,
right?
right, right.
Right. So I want to understand how would you see Bitcoin playing a role when it comes to governments putting in, say, so many Bitcoins in maintaining, like, your public service, your public establishments, like your hospitals, government hospitals, schools, and like that.
Sorry, what will uh,
So
they do?
how do you envision, right? So when this does happen, and money and the concept of money is separated from the state, you will still need, at that point, suppose Bitcoin is, in a hypothetical scenario where it is the only thing everyone uses, right?
Sure.
So how do you see Bitcoin playing a role when the government, say, has to fund a public school, for example?
Sure. So, no, I don't like, how will they use it, or like, I don't get the question.
Like, how do you think Bitcoin will play a role? Like a country needs money to run, right?
Yeah,
Simply put.
yeah,
So if Bitcoin becomes the new money,
sure. So they can't print it. No, like, they need to have money to, like, what, um to do these things. So the thing is, what will happen is, even before that happening, what governments will do is they will buy Bitcoin and put it in their uh, central reserve reserves, like RBI, or
yeah,
like, central banks, and
SBIs.
sorry, in their treasuries, right, in government treasuries, because that will add more value, right? Like, currently we have gold, currently we have US dollar, and all these other different. So in these reserve currencies is where they will be added, and what how can you use these Bitcoins is basically you can take loans against these Bitcoin on like a low interest or whatever, instead of spending, because you have to, if you're keeping something which appreciates in value and take loan against it, the loan actually like starts paying itself, because if the value goes up or is constant, right? So if you don't have to, like, the countries will try to not spend as much as um, Bitcoin, uh, and like, borrow against it, but it will be part of the treasury. And I don't really know if it will replace the entire system, but I think it will just coexist. And the currency system is like a bet on the country, right? Like, if you think a country will do good, then you buy its currency. So I think both will coexist, and all of these money can be interchangeable, right? Like, if I have Bitcoin, I can probably get a Swiss franc very easily,
Hmm.
right? Because, and they might, and I might buy Swiss franc right now just because Switzerland is doing quite well, right? And I think in next 5 years they will do quite even better. So all these currencies will get like the restriction of foreign exchange will get removed, and everything can be traded against each other. And then some countries will be like, shit, I don't really want to run my own currency because it takes a central reserve bank, it takes military to, like, protect the treasury and hold so much money, take people running it. And they're like, hey, I can use my labor somewhere else and like probably build technology, and we just use Bitcoin as a currency. So, like, again, right, like it's so um geopolitical, which again I don't know enough about to answer it. And we are all guessing. We don't know. Like, none of us know how this is going to play out. Tomorrow, something happens, a war breaks down between, let's say, India and China, and then we have to stop trades with, uh, and like we go on a war with US as well, right? Like, so what do we do? Because most of our money is there, so we probably adopt Bitcoin, and it literally changes the entire world wanting to. We don't know. Like, there's so many permutation and combinations, and there is so many powers into picture that we cannot answer that question so easily. Or at least I am not. I am not the best person to answer a very geopolitical question. Uh,
Right.
yeah. But like, you the people will keep it in the treasury and borrow against it. If that's how in
Right.
use. Yeah.
I have two more questions, and I think we'll be wrapping this episode after that. Is unless you give me an answer so interesting in terms of where I'll be like follow up questions. But uh, one is, why do you think it is that like we're not taught how to file taxes in schools. We're not taught the importance of investing. We are taught like compound interest. We're taught simple interest. What's the difference between them? And that's where it
Yeah.
ends.
It ends. Yeah.
Right? I wish there was a lot more. So why do you think we're not being why we weren't taught these things, and do you see it changing?
Yeah, I think it's in again this conspiracy probably, right? Like, to it's to keep you in the rat race. Rat race, as in, like, you go, you work, and you come, and you sleep, right? Like, that's the rat race. Like, if you figure out how easy it is to generate money, it's how easy it is to invest or very passively, and like, break free of your this thing, then you won't be restricted. And like, like, everything is like a lot of power play, and you people have to control you um to get things done. So I don't know why it is not taught. Like, I think it's a very important skill to learn
Right.
and to understand. Why is it not being taught is I would want the education ministry to answer. But for my this thing is, um, my I could just assume that people don't want people to succeed in life and just keep on doing the same thing so you can be controlled. Again, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but like, there is no real answer. Even people who are doing economics and finance, right, they have also not been taught about personal finance. They get to learn about economic theories and how VC and banking happens. But like, what about yourself, man? Like, how do you actually save money and like do that with it? And like, that's the thing. And if you see all the people who have generational wealth, they are very well like taught about finances and how to keep money, right? Like, and how not to lose, right? So that is the difference, right? Like, it just takes one generation to change um, things around for yourself and your uh, generations ahead. So that's the thing. right? Like,
Yeah, I
so
mean, I get that with investment and saving and all that. I don't understand taxes because everybody wins with taxes. Your country becomes better, your government becomes better. You get it's there's a lot of things that work with it. But moving on to my last question, what is the one piece of advice you would give to as a motivation, right? To someone who thinks that they're too old or it's too late for them to start saving and investing in whatever it may be, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's your SIPs, mutual funds, whatever, which are subject to market risk, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
What's the
So
one thing you'd say to them? That they think it's too late, but they want to.
yeah, the thing is like the best time to start doing something was yesterday, right? And like the second best time is to do it now, because there is no other way to go about it, right? Like, I mean, could have, would have, should have, but like, you can still start and like learn something, and then it probably helps you in some or the other manner. So I don't think it's ever late. It's a lot more about mentality, and yeah, it's more about mentality, because once you get into that mentality of understanding how money works and how uh, what is happening with our money, then you understand like the world better, and then you pass it on to people around you. So all that compounds, right? Like me taking some time out and learning about it is compounding it to you, right? Hopefully. And then it's compounding to people who are watching, and then to their friends, and maybe you go and talk about, hey, like, Dheeraj was talking about this, and then they call me, and like all the conversations compound, right? Like, so it's not just lost whenever you're starting, right? Like, if someone is actually old in their 60s, they have family, right? Like, they can go and like say that, hey, grandson, like, this is what I learned, and then grandson is prepared for life, or like at least had that seed in his mind which changes life, right? Like, so this is like, this is what I think helps, that like it's never too late to learn anything.
Right. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this episode, and thanks for agreeing to come on this. I hope I've racked your brains enough on this and maybe asked some questions that are slightly different from what you're used to.
Yeah,
So I'm going to stop the recording.
awesome. Thank you for having me.